Hey everyone, you're watching We Had That, and today I'm going to talk about the 1980 3 3/4 inch Remco Universal Monsters Frankenstein action figure. In the mid 1960s, Hasbro introduced the 1/6 scale G.I. Joe, America's movable fighting man, and the stage was set for decades of action figure adventures for kids from around the world. Throughout the 1960s, G.I. Joe had set the pace, and the majority of the action figures were about 12 inches tall so that they'd be in scale with G.I. Joe. In the 1970s, Mego released several lines of 8-inch action figures that became the new standard for action figures for most of the decade, with even G.I. Joe shrinking down for the Super Joe line. But when Kenner realized it was much easier to make vehicles in scale with the 3 3/4 inch action figures for their Star Wars line, that became the new standard size starting with the end of the 70s. For the next few years, we saw most toy manufacturers releasing action figures in scale with the popular Star Wars line. Remco had tried to get into the action figure game in the 1970s, and from what I've read, had a huge miss with the 1976 McDonaldland action figures, which had been made in about the same scale as the Mego 8-inch figures. But they did fare better a couple of years later in 1978 with the energized Spider-Man and Green Goblin action figures. I still remember seeing the commercials for these and thinking they were awesome. As the decade closed out, Remco took another stab at following the path set forth by Mego with 9-inch Remco Universal Monsters. They were the coolest, and for Christmas one year, I got Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Monsterizer. Here's a picture of my father putting the Monsterizer together on Christmas morning, probably around 1980. But as a Star Wars kid, I would have loved to have had these in 3 3/4 inch so that they could have adventures with my Star Wars figures. And I guess Remco thought that there were other kids thinking the same thing because they also released mini monsters in 3 3/4 inch as well as the regular monsters that were 9 inches tall. The figures came with no accessories, but I mean, they were the Universal monsters. What accessories did they need? There weren't any civilians for them to chase, but I had Fisher-Price Adventure People for that anyway. The 5 points of articulation matched Star Wars figures and Adventure People perfectly. The neck, both shoulders, and both legs. And to make them even cooler, the monsters were re-released, I believe in 1981, with glow-in-the-dark hands and faces. The mummy and the creature's entire bodies glowed in the dark, but I don't have either of those glow versions of the figures to show you. Remco went so far as to advertise the Universal monsters on TV. Oh, and the packaging is absolutely stunning. You just didn't see art like this in 1980. What an amazing look for these cool figures. In addition to being sold individually on these great cards, the monsters were sold in plain brown cardboard boxes as 3-packs at JCPenney. The packaging wasn't as cool, but they contained the same awesome figures. The 3-pack with Frankenstein also included the creature and the mummy. It would definitely be difficult for me to pick a favorite, but Frankenstein's monster has got to be one of my favorites. Even considering the limitations of the time, he was sculpted very nicely. He has that classic eyes half closed looking down his nose at his victims on his face. He has his trademark bolts on his neck, and his hands even look a bit like they've been sewn on. He's wearing a black suit with a dark green sweater, and his skin is a little greenish. Yeah, I know the movie was in black and white, but these are the colors that I've associated with Frankie since I was a kid. In fact, I don't think I had ever seen this movie as a kid. I knew about the Universal monsters from pop culture references rather than the movies themselves. But either way, what an amazing toy. I keep reading that the glow-in-the-dark versions of the monsters are more difficult to find, and I can say I've definitely seen fewer of the glow mummy and glow creature, but I have both versions of Frank. As for the packaged examples, almost all of the carded Remco monsters that I see either for sale or in collections have been of the glow-in-the-dark variety. What did you think of the 3 3/4 inch Remco Universal monster figures in general, and what did you think of Frankenstein in particular? Did you have this figure as a kid? Was he a favorite action figure of yours, or did he spend all of his time sitting on a shelf or in a box? Tell me in the comments below. Also, please give this video a like and share it on social media. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new videos. And one last thing, if you're a fan of toys, you should know about ToyLanta, the biggest toy show in the southeastern United States, held annually just north of Atlanta, Georgia. Visit ToyLanta.com for more information. As always, thanks for watching.